You're tuning in to Luminal on the Wall. Welcome. I'm your host, Becky, and joining me always is my co-host and beautiful sister, Bevy.
In our podcast, we will take a deep dive into the evil side of humanity. We will talk about suspicious deaths, shoddy investigations, and all the gory details in between.
But be warned, we will not hesitate to call BS when we hear it, which means you may not always agree with us, but we promise to lay out the evidence so you can come to your own conclusions based on what is presented.
Listeners' discretion is advised.
Hey, Bevy.
Hey, Becky.
How's it going?
Pretty stellar.
Oh, stellar. Why so stellar?
I just feel good this week. I don't know. Been walking a lot. Been working out a bunch. I feel happy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Exercise, it gives you endorphins.
Yes.
Very good. Glad to hear it, Bevy.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Oh, well, one could say stellar as well.
Oh, yes? Any particular reason, sister?
I kicked ass at pinball.
Oh, yeah.
I feel good about my game.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah,
as
I was in a slump for a while.
You were slumming it?
Yeah, I was slumming it in the low rankings of pinball. Really slumming it. But
no longer.
I did a bit better this week, so I feel accomplished.
I am happy to hear that.
Thank you, Bevy.
I know it's the only thing you have going for you, so...
My pinball, that's it? Wow. I'm noticing a trend in these little, ask Bev how she's doing, because I care. And it's like, you suck, Becky. You suck.
What's a little sister for?
Not
Other
to
than
make...
to keep you humble.
Well, I don't know if you're keeping me humble, but...
I'm bringing you down.
That's right.
A few notches.
I know.
Your hair looks like shit. No, just...
I thought it was a cute ponytail.
No, it is. It is.
You look I never will trust you now.
Your eyes are nice.
Thanks, Bev.
Your earrings are cute, too.
Oh, my little diamonds.
Your smile is all right. No, just kidding.
See, give me 2 compliments. Bring me back down.
It felt abnormal.
Like, pump my ego up 2 pumps, then bring it down at least 1.5.
Yeah, exactly.
I never can float away.
No.
No big ego on this girl. You will not allow it. Anyways, Bev, before you say anything else mean to me, let's get into it.
Okay, let's get going.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling still good about myself.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Bev. This story is about a man named John Price and his meetings with the Black Knight.
Whoa.
Sounds ominous, yeah?
Definitely, yeah.
All right, before we get into it, our case sources for today's episode are Wikipedia, Murderpedia, Ranked.com, and YouTube, True Crime Central, the Katherine Knight story.
Oh, okay.
This case is about the murder of John Price and the first Australian woman to be sentenced to life in prison without parole, aka the Black Knight.
Whoa, I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's hear it.
Katherine Knight was born October 24th, 1955 in Tenterfield, New South Wales. Her mother's name is Barbara and her father's name is Ken Knight. Katherine was the younger of twins and one of 4 children. She also had 4 other brothers from her mother's previous marriage, none of which lived with them.
That's a lot of brothers and sisters.
It's a whole lot of siblings.
Yeah.
I only got 2 and you heard the bullshit I just went through with 1. Just saying.
Okay, calm yourself.
In 1959, Barbara's previous husband, Jack, had died, and their 2 eldest sons came to live with the Knights. It's said that Ken Knight, Katherine's father, was a very violent alcoholic and would rape Barbara up to 10 times per day.
What?
I know, brutal living situation. Barbara would confide in her daughters and tell them all the intimate details of her sex life and how much she hated sex and men.
No.
I know.
That's awful.
Bev, you informed me there's actually a term for that scenario called parental incest. Am I right?
Close. Emotional incest.
Emotional incest. Tell everyone what that is.
Well, it's basically just when there is like the boundary between parent and child is blurred, and the parent kind of relies on the child emotionally as if they're their friend. And it can have really negative impacts on the child because the child's not really ready to hear that kind of shit. Like, they're not mature enough to be able to process it, understand it, and they should be able to rely on their parent as a stable authority figure. And when your parent isn't that for you and you're supporting your parent emotionally, it's just not good. No. It can actually, you know, cause mental illness as you get older. It can affect how you think of yourself, how you relate to other people. So it's just really not good at all.
No doubt. I could imagine it would also cause problems down the road in future relationships even, and maybe how you associate with them and how you behave.
Yeah, I mean, especially when I'm just hearing what you said about what Catherine's mom was telling her, was like how she hates men and all of this, that, and other. It's like, how could that not affect Catherine's view of men in general? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like men are not to be trusted. They're bad. I mean,
you kind of have to like go into life like defending yourself right out the gate.
Yeah, 100%.
And imagine hearing your mom talk about your dad that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and also if your dad's a raging alcoholic, I'm sure that probably impacted her overall, like without having to hear what her mom was going through. So that's just a lot of trauma in one household, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, Bev, I should assure you it doesn't stop there.
Oof.
At one point, Catherine confided in her mom that one of her partners wanted her to do a sex act that she didn't really want to do. Her mother actually told her, and I quote, "put up with it and stop complaining."
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
Oh my gosh.
So at a young age, hearing that from your mom, like, imagine how that could kind of mold how you view relationships, how you trust your partner, all that stuff.
It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm shocked. That's actually the worst advice ever.
Yes.
It's like, don't respect yourself to not get treated shitty or be forced to do things that you don't want to do. Could you imagine? Our mom was the exact opposite. Our mom very often was like, you don't put up with nothing. You don't want to be touched? You don't fucking get touched. Like, mom was just very much like
stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine what it would do to your psyche if your mom was like, yeah, you deserve to be treated that way, basically. Just put up with it.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
That's wild.
So, as I've kind of already made points of, Catherine's home life was quite tumultuous and filled with fear, instability. Her dad would regularly beat her mother up. According to True Crime Central, Barbara could also dish it back. So it wasn't just her dad beating her mom. They would go at it, and it was both people going head to head.
Constant conflict and wow.
And a lot of violence and aggression.
That's wild.
Catherine was sexually assaulted by different family members up until the age of 11. Shockingly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, terrible, right? Shockingly, though, Bev, her dad was not one of them.
Well, I mean, like, I know that is kind of surprising, but still. My gosh, this poor girl.
She's been through the ringer at a young age.
Mm.
When Catherine attended high school, she was considered a loner, a bully by most of her classmates. For the most part, Catherine was actually a really nice girl, but she would have these mood swings described as murderous rages when dealing with minor upsets.
Murderous rages? Really?
Yeah.
Her classmate said this.
Yep, that's how they were described. Murderous rages.
Oh, wow.
In fact, she actually assaulted at least one boy at school with a weapon, and she herself had actually been injured by a teacher, was proven to have acted in self-defense.
The teacher?
Yeah.
From her?
Yeah.
So she attacked the teacher. The teacher acted in self-defense and attacked Catherine.
Yeah.
So she's beating people up. It's actually quite sad to hear all of it because you know what her home life is like. And then you hear, like, see her basically acting
What she sees.
what she sees. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, actually, hey?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate her parents didn't obviously have the capabilities to teach her
Anything different.
anything different.
Yeah.
And have her integrated into the outside world in any other fashion, right?
Yeah, super sad.
When Katherine wasn't in a blind rage, she was actually a model student. She had received awards for good behavior.
What?
So a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde going on there.
You just said Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll.
Sound like Beavis and Butthead over
Yeah,
here.
what's going on?
Jekyll
But
and
yeah,
Hyde.
that's odd to hear. It's like so contrasting, like retellings of her. It's
Exactly.
like model student, good behavior, beating people up.
I know, right?
What?
Like
Well,
how does that even
confusing.
happen? At the age of 15, Katherine had decided to drop out of school. By that time, she had not fully learned to read or write. She was considered illiterate
At 15.
at 15.
That's crazy to think that by 15 you haven't learned to read or write.
Yeah, so after leaving school, she initially got a job as a cutter at a clothing factory. However, when her dream job opened up, cutting meat at the local slaughterhouse, she took it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So even though Katherine was said to be illiterate, she was actually a very quick learner. And she was promoted to the boning and was given her own set of butcher's knives. So she did advance rather quickly. It's said that Katherine had a really weird obsession with knives and death.
Jeez.
Yeah, she would in fact nick the artery of all the animals and just watch them bleed out.
What?
I
That's
know.
fucking sick.
It's-
Like in a
yeah.
not positive way. Like
It's not cool. No,
that's torture, man.
I know. Like, I know she worked at a slaughterhouse, and you probably at some point have to kind of get used to seeing animals, you know, getting slaughtered and
Yeah,
all
but
that stuff.
to
But
do it slow, like watch them suffer a slow, painful death. Maybe not painful, I don't even know, but just like she's like getting enjoyment out of their death. That's like weird.
yes, it is. Yes, to have a fascination that way is very concerning, or at least mildly concerning, you know?
Uh-huh.
On top of that, Bev, she would actually keep her butcher's knives hung over her bed just in case she needed them. This would be a lifelong habit she maintained until she went to jail.
Creepy.
I know.
Could you imagine?
You go home with some girl, you know,
Start to get
busy.
start to get busy. And there's these freaking knives just strewn above the bed.
Yeah, like talk about a bad omen. Be like, should I leave?
The answer is yes.
Yes,
Leave.
always leave. If there's knives above the bed, go
The
home.
answer is like,
You were not meant to be there. As an adult, Katherine had a reputation in Aberdeen because she was notorious for fighting anyone who upset her. In 1973, Katherine met her future husband, David Kellett, at work. It is said he was a heavy drinker, and if Kellett got into a fight at the bar, Katherine would be right there to back him up, fist swinging.
Okay. That's one way to be a teammate to your partner, I guess.
I support you completely. According to friends and family, Katherine absolutely dominated David. And in 1974, Katherine requested that the couple be joined in holy matrimony. On the day of their wedding, the couple showed up on Katherine's motorbike. David was already super drunk, and Barbara wanted to give him some advice. So remember, Barbara is Katherine's mom.
Right.
And I quote, her advice is, "You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her," meaning cheat on her. "She'll fucking kill you. She's got a screw loose somewhere." And that is a quote from Murderpedia.
That is
And Wikipedia.
unsettling. Holy shit. Could you imagine the day you're going to spend the rest of your life with your wife and her mom is like, she will kill you. She will kill you.
Yeah, like
If
don't mess
you
around.
don't do, like, you look at her the wrong way,
You dead.
you're dead. I'd be like, holy shit.
Right? Like imagine even when you got married, Beth, imagine dad going up to Craig and being like, "Yo, she's mental. She's gonna kill you if you cheat on her or do any of this." Imagine hearing that on your wedding day. Like, I bet all Dad said to Craig was like, take care of my baby. With tears, you know, like that's normal, but good old Barbara giving him like a heads up, like, watch out.
I mean, given the fact that Katherine Knight is spending her life in prison with no chance of parole, I feel like Barbara was,
she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
Fair warning, obviously. On the night of their wedding, the couple had consummated their relationship 3 whole times. However, Katherine ended up choking David because they did not have enough sex.
What? Becky! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, David, I guess she wasn't satisfied.
Satisfy your wife. Just
oh my
kidding.
God, 3 times in one night, and she just like, it wasn't enough. Oh, choking you out. Like, could you?
I'm so angry.
That is one way to express your anger.
That is one of many ways.
That's wild.
So apparently after the 3rd time, David was tired. He had fallen asleep.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. Catherine's expectation, though, was at least 5 times because it was said that her parents had done it 5 times the night of their wedding.
How did she know that? That's weird.
Well, we know how she knows that.
Emotional incest, yes. But still, isn't it weird reasoning and logic to be like, oh, my mom had sex this many times on her wedding night, so I have to as well. Like, that's just not normal.
No, like, that's not a necessary expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly a too high of an expectation for David, but
yeah,
not necessary in general. David and Catherine's marriage was a violent mess right out the gate.
You don't say.
No. Shocker. A pregnant Katherine had burned all of his clothes and shoes and then had hit David in the back of the head with a frying pan because he was home a little late after a dart competition. He had made the finals and he got home later than expected.
Hey, honey, you did so good on your dart competition. Well, bam!
But you're late!
Frying pan to the back of the head.
Right? Because of this, David fled to a neighbor's house. His skull was badly fractured, and in fear for his life, the police were called.
Holy shit.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, I was laughing about it because I'm making a joke of it, but if you really think of that, like, turn it around and imagine a man doing that to a woman, you know, just to kind of give perspective on how fucked up that really is to do to somebody. Like, burning clothes, it's such a invasion of someone's privacy and, like, of their personal belongings and their body. It's just fucked up. That's so abusive.
I mean, it totally is. I think also part of like an odd humor behind it is like you see in like movies, people hitting people with frying pans, you know, like in self-defense. So when you hear her using a frying pan, you're like, what, a frying pan? People really do that?
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that he is
being beaten.
Yeah, he is being abused by his wife.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just not right either way. Because the police were called, they actually wanted to press charges against Katherine. However, Katherine really put on the charm and convinced David to drop all charges. A little while later, Katherine and David welcomed their first daughter, Melissa, into the world.
What a nice family to get welcomed into. Like, that would be tough.
It would be, right? By that time, David had had enough of Katherine's shit, though. She was violent and possessive. He left her for another woman and moved to Queensland. At that point, by doing that, he had pushed Katherine to the edge. She was seen aggressively pushing her new baby in a stroller down the street. And because of this, she was actually admitted into St. Elmo's Hospital and at the time was diagnosed with postpartum depression. For anyone who doesn't know, postpartum depression is a mood disorder associated with childbirth. It can affect both sexes, and the symptoms might include extreme sadness, low energy, anxiety, crying episodes, irritability, changes in sleeping or eating patterns. Katherine spent several weeks recovering from that. Once she was released, she ended up placing her 2-month-old baby Melissa on the railway tracks, and despite her recovery, she then stole an axe, went into town where she threatened to kill multiple people. A local homeless man known to residents as Old Ted was scavenging along the train tracks when he noticed baby Melissa.
Oh my gosh.
She was alone, and he managed to save that innocent baby just in the nick of time. Knight was arrested again and brought back to the hospital. However, she claimed she had recovered and checked herself out the very next day.
I'm sorry, but it is a little bit surprising that she wasn't arrested for, like, an attempt of murder. To be fair, because, like, you put your child on a rail, like, if Ted had not been there, she would have killed her baby. Like, how was she not arrested and charged? Like, regardless of you having postpartum depression, like, that needs to be taken seriously. That's so awful.
Yeah, and I think part of it is because she was in the hospital for a while and they brought her back. I assume that they looked at her and probably were like, oh, she's struggling with her mental health. Let's take her back to the hospital and get that addressed. Which isn't a bad thing to do, right? Like, let's get this person some help.
Yeah, but you also have to be held accountable for
almost
trying to murder your child. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. There's just no excuse. And for her to be able to, like, sign herself out the next day, like, no. I think that was a mishandling of the situation.
Well, it's unfortunate because it's not like it goes uphill from here. So, yeah, definitely mishandled a little bit. So, this was not the end of Katherine's erratical behavior. A couple days later, she slashed the face of a woman with one of her butcher's knives. She demanded that she be driven to Queensland to find David. This poor woman must have been so scared. She was able, though, to make her escape when they stopped at a service station. By the time the police arrived, Katherine had actually taken a young boy as her hostage. However, the police were able to disarm her with broomsticks.
What?
I know. Solid weapon.
No, what?
Broomsticks.
How do they have broomsticks? Like, why was that their choice of weapon? Or, like, disarming item?
Well, and also, like, who has broomsticks just laying around?
Yeah.
And who thought, hey, I'm going to go disarm a woman with these?
Yeah, a woman with a machete.
Yeah, that's fair battle.
Well, it worked.
It worked. They disarmed her. They were effective, at least. If you're going to use broomsticks in any way, be effective.
Preach.
After that, she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital.
Oh, really?
Katherine had told the nurses that she was at the service station to kill the mechanic who had fixed David's car, allowing or helping him to escape from her.
Jeez.
Yeah. Once she had taken care of the mechanic, she was then planning to head to Queensland to kill her husband and his mother. David had been informed of this incident, and in a rather shocking turn of events, he actually left his girlfriend and moved back to Aberdeen with his mother so that Katherine would have support once she was released.
Okay, whoa.
Yes. A couple months later, on August 9th, Knight was released from the psychiatric hospital, and it was into the custody of her husband and mother-in-law. The family then moved to Ipswich, a city west of Brisbane.
That is insane. Like, she was planning on killing them both.
Yeah.
And then they pick her up and are like, one big happy family.
Right?
That's wild. That's crazy. I just think that's insane.
Yeah, it definitely is not expected. I would only assume that David was like, oh, you know what? She's been in the hospital for a couple months. She's probably a little better now. Calm down.
I'm sure there's, like, love there and care there, too.
Yeah. You don't just marry someone.
Yeah.
For no reason, right?
Right.
At that point, Katherine had obtained a job at Dinmore Meatworks. And on March 6th, 1980, the couple had celebrated the arrival of their second daughter, baby Natasha. 4 years later, Katherine left David Kellett, probably to his relief.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Left him.
All
She's
right.
done with him now.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
her choice. She moved back to Aberdeen for a short period and then to Musselbrook, where she had returned to work at the slaughterhouse. However, she sustained an injury to her back and ended up on disability pension. The government had given her housing commission residence.
Which is, like, money to live somewhere? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of this, she ended up moving back to Aberdeen. 2 years later, in 1986, Katherine met a 38-year-old miner, David Saunders. Within a few months, he ended up moving in with Katherine and her daughters. David did decide it was a good idea to keep his apartment in Scone. And in a classic fashion, Knight quickly became jealous of what he was doing whenever she was not around. She would often throw him out, and he would move back to his apartment. Katherine would then beg him to return. This became a relentless cycle within their relationship. And in 1987, just a year later, Katherine wanted to give David an example of what would happen if he ever had an affair. So she cut the throat of his 2-month-old dingo pup right in front of him and then knocked him unconscious with a frying pan again.
Holy fuck.
And when I say again, I mean just using a frying pan, not...
Oh, yeah. Like, that's the second time. What if, like, she killed his dog? Like, it's not even like he did anything. She just wanted to intimidate him to not do anything.
Yeah, like put fear in him.
The poor puppy.
I know.
As your doggo is, like, laying on the ground next to us.
I could never imagine.
Oh, my God. She's awful.
Yeah, and we haven't even heard the worst of it, Bev. But she's awful. Get this. A year later, the couple gave birth to their daughter, Sarah. Because of the birth, David decided to put a deposit on a house. Katherine then paid off the deposit when her workers' compensation came through. Katherine was the one doing all the decorating, and she had a very unique style.
Yeah, machetes.
Nice style. Thanks, it's machete. Intimidation
I just
style.
imagine them, like, hung, covering the whole wall, just, like, knives everywhere.
Yeah, right? Like, getting blinded because the sun's shining on all your knives. Now, this unique style, Bev, not just knives. There were animal skins everywhere. Skulls, horns, rusty animal traps, leather jackets, old boots, as you said, machetes, rakes, pitchforks. According to Wikipedia, every spot that could be covered from ceiling to floor was.
Jeez.
One time after an argument, Katherine had gotten into a rage and she hit Saunders in the face with an iron and then stabbed him in the abdomen with a pair of scissors. At that time, David decided to move back to Scone. They needed some time apart.
Yeah, forever.
Like, no duh.
Holy crap, my goodness. This woman is freaking violent.
Very violent, right?
Like, I'm just trying to imagine what she looks like because, you know, to be that violent towards men, like, you must have to have, I don't know, like, I'm just thinking you have to have some, like, strength because when I think of Craig and myself, I'm like, oh, he could, like, if I tried to stab him with a scissor, mind you, that's weird in and of itself. Mm. But even if I did, he'd be like, haha, little girl, tap it away. Like, be like, you know?
Yeah, he would, like, have this pure strength to just stop
me from harming him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, though, if he's scared of you and was, like, maybe a little more docile.
Yeah, she's kind of scared him into submission, almost. Like, she
has an intimidating factor.
Killed his dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, hit him with frying pans.
Like, he's probably sitting there like, oh my gosh, like, I better not act up or I better watch what I say because if she can do that to my dog, what will she do to me?
True.
Even though David decided to leave and create space between the couple, he did decide to move back to Aberdeen. When he did, he found all his clothes cut up by Katherine, and at this point he realized it's not a good idea to go back here, and he actually took a long service leave from work and went into hiding. This man was so fearful and so intimidated that he's like, I'm going into hiding. I'm not just leaving, I'm going into hiding.
Yeah, I mean, like, good for him. Probably one of the smartest things he could have done for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. As we know, Bev, Katherine seems to like making decisions and being in control. So when David went into hiding, she tried to find him.
Of course.
And no one would admit to know where he was. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. I mean, last time someone knew where her ex-partner was, she was wanting to kill them. Like, not that anyone knew that, but like...
Yeah, and she was a bit of a tornado of destruction. She took a boy hostage, she slashed that girl's face, and if the cops hadn't intervened, who knows what could have happened that day, right?
Yeah, so I'm sure I understand why people are like, I'm not saying shit.
Yeah, totally. After several months of being in hiding, Sanders decided to return because he wanted to see his daughter.
I was going to ask about that. What about the kids? She has 3 girls.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. He found out that night that Katherine had gone to the police and unjustly told them that she was afraid of him and that they had issued her an apprehended violence order against him.
What a manipulative human being. I can't. Like, he's the one in hiding. Like, if Like, he's literally doing everything he can to stay the fuck away from you. That's so weird that, like, she was issued that, because we've heard in previous, like, mysteries where people aren't granted that type of, like, order, you know? You request it, but it's not
Even when it's, like, just right.
granted. Yeah.
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 So you kind of think, like, why did she do this? I wouldn't put it past her just because she did this out of spite. He left.
100%.
She's pissed.
She can't find him. She can't find him. Can't do anything. You know,
and this
can't
is all
kill
she
him.
can
Can't
do.
beat him.
Oh, dear. But this is, like, this is the one thing she can control.
Yeah.
In 1991, Katherine became pregnant again. However, it was from a co-worker from the slaughterhouse. The man's name was John Chillingworth. Considering Katherine had quite the reputation, I really wonder what would compel someone or anyone to start a relationship with this woman, let alone have a child. I know it could have been unplanned, but it's the risk you take. Why would you get involved with someone with such a bad reputation? I guess that's a lifelong question for a lot of people. But I do wonder what knowingly getting into that relationship with someone.
Well, unless you aren't really aware of the reputation, right? Or you have good experiences with the person, so you hear the reputation and you're like, they're probably, like, exaggerating or what have you, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you might just not fully believe it.
Or like, no, I'm a confident person. This would never happen to me.
Yeah, I'm sure things like that, like, cause people to make those types of decisions.
Exactly. So this relationship with John Chillingworth lasted 3 years before Katherine left him for another man.
Holy shit.
According to Wikipedia, Chillingworth said he hit Knight once when she pushed him too far. She had hit his glasses off his face and cracked his dentures that were actually still in his mouth, and that had pushed him a little over the edge and caused him to try and defend himself by hitting her. Katherine had been having an affair with a man named John Price for quite some time. John Price is the biggest victim in this story. He was a father of 3, and people described him as a terrific bloke, liked by everyone who knew him. Unfortunately, his previous marriage had ended in 1988. His youngest daughter, who was 2 at the time, stayed with his ex-wife, and his 2 oldest children lived with him. So not long after Katherine's relationship ended with Chillingworth, she ended up moving into John Price's house. Price was aware of Katherine's reputation, but it said that his children liked her. At the beginning, the relationship was awesome. It soon progressed into violent arguments, just like all of other Katherine's previous relationships. John worked the local mines, and he was making a lot of money. He lived very comfortably and was able to take care of his family. In 1998, John Price refused to marry Katherine. Do I blame him? Absolutely not. But that's when the wrath of Katherine came out, and she made a video that showed items that John had allegedly stolen from work, and she had sent that tape to his boss.
She's just so unlikable.
Ah, I know, right?
Every time I'm like, you're awful. Like, he doesn't want to marry you, so what? Like,
gonna make him, like, seem bad in front of his boss?
Like, oh man, it's just like, it's quite infuriating to see just how she's just like, she's just so fucking awful. I don't know what else to say. It's just mean. She's just not a nice person. So after she sent it to his boss, like, what happened?
Well, first I need to explain the items that were in this video were expired medical kits that John had taken from the company's dump pile. Regardless...
That's all it was?
That's all it was. And regardless of that, Katherine had done enough damage to get John fired from his job.
Holy crap. I wonder why he was fired over that, though, if they were in the dump. It's kind of odd, but at the same time, maybe as an employer, you don't want your staff stealing from you. I mean, makes sense.
And it's a pretty bad allegation, right? Like...
Yeah.
Anyways, even if it was innocent, like, it doesn't look good having your partner send that information in. It puts suspicion and, you know... John had that job for 17 years. In those 17 years, Bev, he had no issues. So annoying.
I know. I hate that. It's like he has children. He
has a life.
Like,
he has
you
a
attacked
future.
his livelihood.
You can imagine how pissed we are about it. How mad he must have been.
No kidding.
Yeah. That day, he went home and kicked Katherine out. She had ended up moving back to her place, and the news of what Katherine had done spread all over town. A couple months had passed, and John restarted their relationship.
Ugh.
He did not let her move in with him at that point. However, the fighting became more frequent again And a lot of his friends actually cut him off and didn't want to have anything to do with him while he was in that relationship.
Jeez, that's bad.
Yeah, that's like a telltale sign. Like, you're in a bad relationship when your long-term friends are like,
can't be around it.
Sorry, you're just too toxic, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, to me, that would be a very strong sign. Be like, oh man, this lady's not good for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Regardless of the tumultuous relationship, the couple ended up living together once again in February of 2000. Once Katherine had moved back in, John ended up suffering a series of assaults that ended with Katherine stabbing him in the chest. This was the final straw. Once again, he kicked her out of the house, but she refused to leave. On February 29th, 2001, he had stopped at the Scone courthouse on his way to work to get a restraining order so he could get her out of his house and eventually keep this dangerous woman away from him and his children. That afternoon, John's co-workers begged him not to return to his house. They were fearful for him. He told them he had to because he was scared that Katherine would harm or even kill his children if he didn't go home that night.
Why wouldn't you call the police and tell them the situation? I've been stabbed in my chest. My children are not safe. He's telling his coworkers, I have to go home because of my children. It's weird though, you've been stabbed by this woman, you're obviously in physical danger. Mm-hmm. She has no limits. Yeah, you should do everything you can to protect your children, but not by yourself.
Yeah, there are resources out there. But I do understand he went to the courthouse to get a restraining order, kind of go through the proper steps to get her out.
I guess it's hard to, when you're in the moment, it's hard to assess the risk to yourself and to your children. And, you kind of just think, I can deal with it. I got this.
Yeah, let's go get a restraining order. Mm-hmm. Eventually she'll have to leave.
Yeah.
So let's start that right now.
Yeah.
Right? So not only were John's coworkers fearful for him, but John had actually vocalized just how scared he was with the comment, if I don't come to work tomorrow, it's because Katherine had murdered me.
Yeah, see, why is he going home?
Exactly.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I'm feeling scared for him. And I'm just it's you're watching the movie.
Yeah, don't go in there alone. Oh my God, don't do it. And then they do it.
And you're oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah. So when John got home, Katherine wasn't there.
Oh.
He had actually learned she sent the children away for a sleepover at a friend's house. So that night, John decided to spend the evening hanging out with his neighbors, where, again, he mentioned to them, if you see my van out front in the morning, call the cops. She's done me in. He had returned home around 11 p.m. and went to bed. Katherine still wasn't there. However, earlier that day, Katherine had actually gone out, bought new black lingerie, and later in the evening, so after he'd gone to bed, she returned to Price's house while he was sleeping. She woke him up, watched Star Trek for a little bit, they had sex, and then he went back to sleep.
I'm just waiting for the bomb to drop.
Yeah, right?
When's it gonna happen?
Oh, it's about to. True Crime Central noted Katherine Knight was a very violent person. She wasn't an intellectual. She definitely wasn't the brightest. And it was said she was not a good conversationalist. However, Bev, she had the allure of sex.
It's the power of the pussy.
Yeah, and she used that to draw men in and get what she wanted. When John's neighbors saw that his truck was still in the driveway at 6 a.m. on March 1st, they became very concerned.
And John had literally been if you see this,
yeah,
I'm dead.
It's no good. So when he also didn't arrive at work, his employer was worried and sent a coworker to see what was wrong. The coworker and neighbor tried knocking on Price's bedroom window to wake him. However, they noticed blood on the floor and immediately called the police. When the police arrived, they had to break down the back door just to get inside. What they found inside was truly horrendous. Initially, the police saw what looked to be a curtain or a blanket hanging in the hallway leading into the lounge. According to the documentary True Crime Central, one officer had pushed the material to the side. It was cold, and when he looked down, he couldn't figure out why his arm was covered in blood.
Oh my God.
They quickly realized this was no curtain.
Oh my God.
It was skin, Bev.
Holy fuck.
Skin.
Holy fuck. That is disgusting.
Yeah, a curtain of skin.
Oh my God.
There was lots of blood splatter and smudges all over. A large pool of blood in the hallway. The pool of blood filled the whole width of the hallway. Katherine Knight was found completely catatonic as she had taken a very large amount of pills. She was taken to the hospital to be cared for. The drugs that had been found in her system was an antidepressant, fluvoxamine, and a smaller amount of antihistamine, promethazine. Both apparently caused dizziness and drowsiness. It said neither was in a toxic range, though. She was
fucking catatonic because she just realized she skinned her fucking boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I'm gonna make myself drowsy. Forget about that.
That would make anybody, like, completely dissociate from reality. Like, that's so fucked. You have to be in a fucking weird ass state to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
The police had also found John Price. He had been skinned and decapitated. As the police started examining the crime scene, they realized that the blood splatter through the house told a very gruesome story.
Oh.
It showed that Katherine had stabbed Price with the butcher's knife while he was sleeping. According to the blood evidence, he woke up. He tried to turn the light on before trying to escape. Katherine chased him through the house. The blood splatter got lower and lower on the walls before he somehow managed to open the front door and get outside. They're unsure if he had fallen or stumbled back inside or if he was dragged back into the hallway. That massive amount of blood in the hallway is where they determined John Price had bled out and died. According to the autopsy, John had been stabbed in the front and back at least 37 times. Many of these wounds had hit vital organs.
Of course, because she knows where they are, and she likes watching living things bleed out.
Yeah, clearly this is no problem for her.
Ugh.
Once John had died, Katherine showered, changed her clothes, and left the house. She went to Aberdeen, where she withdrew $1,000 from Price's bank account from an ATM. The detectives are not sure what she did with the money or why she needed it, but it was not found on her person or ever. Once Katherine returned to John's home, she skinned his corpse. Katherine's career at the slaughterhouse left her with knife skills that enabled her to remove the skin with expert precision and in one piece. That one piece included his body, limbs, his entire face, ears, scalp, neck, and his genitals. She did, however, leave a small square of skin on the body that had a scar from where she had stabbed him previously.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like she's, like, proud of it.
Yeah, like,
why
I
would
stabbed
you?
him.
Yeah.
And now look what I'm doing with his skin. Once she had removed all the skin, she then hung the skin from meat hooks in the hallway.
Oh.
And that's what that officer bumped into. It's said that the skin was removed so meticulously that they were able to reattach it to his body for the funeral. There had been bloodstains on the carpet that showed where John was skinned and where Katherine had laid it out before hanging it.
Ugh.
There was also blood pools where she had decapitated him and a trail of blood from the hallway to the kitchen stove. Detectives found Price's head cooking in a giant pot on the stove with a medley of vegetables.
What?
Yeah, making a stew, don't you know?
With his head.
Yeah. Imagine being that police officer, Bev, opening that, like, you do see the trail of blood, so you're like, that's sinister.
Yeah.
And even watching or seeing the trail of blood going to the stove, I don't think I would even think that his head would be in there because, like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Katherine had also made 5 steaks from his gluteus maximus and cooked them in the oven with baked potato, pumpkin, beetroot, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash with a gravy. There was a steak found in the backyard, which the cops thought she left for the dog. Some say she herself tried to eat it, but couldn't. There were 2 table settings made at the dinner table with a note addressed to John Price's children. It was laid out on top of a bloodstained photo of Price and a piece of skin.
Oh my God.
So earlier we said she left school at 15 and was illiterate.
Right. So I'm going to see just how.
Yeah, the spelling on this note was very poor. So I'm going to read it as it was spelled.
Okay.
So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you'll get the gist of what she's trying to say.
And it was addressed to his children.
Yes.
With dinner of his body.
Yeah, steaks of his butt.
So she wanted her children, or his children, to come and find and be like, have a feast of their father.
Yeah. Like,
what the fuck? Okay, read it. I gotta hear this.
The note read, "Time got you back, Johathan, for wrapping my daughter. You too, Beck, for Ross, for little John. Now playing with little John Dick John Price." It's kind of hard to make out what she is meaning by this note.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming she's talking about a boy named Jonathan and raping her daughter. It's truly hard to say just because her spelling and everything was so bad. However, if that's what she's saying, there is no foundation for those allegations.
Right. Okay. All I heard was like playing with dick now, like or something.
That's all you got from that?
Well, I mean, and I heard your name in there, but what? Beck? Right?
Yes, it was like, in there.
Oh, man.
Katherine did admit to the police that she killed John, but she said she was actually the victim in this relationship and had suffered for many years, and that she had done this out of self-defense.
Oh, you skinned a man and cooked his fucking body? His
pure
head?
Self-defense.
Pure self-defense.
Yeah, it's a little overkill. So to think it would be self-defense, like, what?
Yeah, it's not a very good defense.
No, it's not, is it?
No.
So, as you said, there's absolutely no proof that she was ever abused and that it should have been self-defense. With the history from her other relationships and the physical evidence, it seems that she just maybe fibbed a tiny bit. At the beginning of the trial, Katherine initially offered to plead guilty to manslaughter, but that was rejected. On March 2nd, she was officially charged with the murder of John Price, and she pled not guilty. There were 60 juror prospects, and the judge gave the option to be excused because the photo evidence was so bad and brutal. 5 out of those 60 accepted that.
5?
Yeah, 5 of them chose to walk away.
The other ones were like, we want, like, the curious.
Yeah, I would have stayed, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
The next day, however, Katherine changed her plea to guilty. The jury was dismissed.
No trial.
Apparently, the judge knew the day before, but had ordered a psych evaluation to make sure Katherine understood the consequences of the new plea and that she was in the right frame of mind to make that choice. Knight's legal team defense strategy was to claim that she had amnesia and disassociation. However, within that psych evaluation, she was found sane.
Thank God.
Yeah. 2 psychiatrists had made the conclusion that she had borderline personality disorder.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Even though she pleaded guilty, she still does not accept any responsibility for what she did. So no one really knows what her reasoning for pleading guilty was, other than to maybe have less people see the evidence or have it not be maybe
or have a
public.
Or a potential like lesser sentence.
Something like
that. But
at Katherine's sentencing hearing, her lawyers had asked that she not be present so she didn't have to hear the facts of the case. But that request was denied.
Thank God. Like, you should,
face the music.
Face the music. Yeah.
When details of the skinning and decapitation were being described on the stand, Knight freaked out and had to be sedated. Family members and ex-lovers came forward at the trial and talked about their experiences with Katherine and the violence that she was capable of. Justice O'Keefe said the nature of this crime and how she showed absolutely no remorse made her deserve the maximum consequences available. He sentenced her to life in prison and her papers to be marked with never to be released. This is the first time a woman had been sentenced with this.
And she's deserving of it.
Oh, 100%.
That's like the sickest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, like I can't even fathom that people actually kill other people.
Yeah.
But the fact that she went like so overboard is appalling.
Yeah.
In 2006, Katherine and her team tried to appeal this ruling. She said it was just too harsh.
Okay.
Okay, Katherine. The Court of Appeal dismissed this request. And according to Wikipedia, Justice McClellan wrote in the judgment, "This was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation in a civilized society."
Absolutely.
What's really concerning is that Katherine was so unpredictably violent through her whole life and had done really bad things that should have landed her in jail prior. If she had been in jail, maybe this wouldn't have happened, She stabbed 2 of her lovers, sliced a girl's face, and killed a puppy. I read that a lot of her
And tried to kill her daughter.
Her poor baby on the train tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely like a mishandling or like not recognizing the severity of like her action. Like there was just a lack of understanding of what she was capable of, I think, or like a lack of pursuing judgment for her actions from authority.
Yeah. I read that a lot of her bad behavior was dismissed because the community just knew she was a rough and tough gal and just accepted that's how she was. Bevy, this was a story about John Price and how he was brutally murdered by the Black Knight. It's so sad. I feel so bad for his children, but thank God they never made it home in time to find their dad and possibly eat him.
No, they wouldn't. Obviously, they would fucking see, like,
seen the nightmare.
But still, that would be even more traumatizing than it would be to know that that happened to your father.
For sure.
Yeah.
Bev, that was brutal, and that is
doozy.
all I got.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Thanks for listening.